dear participants. It is my pleasure to welcome you to today's webinar on the Master's Degree Program Applied Artificial Intelligence offered by the German University of Digital Science. Before we dive in, I would like, and it would be great, to start with a short round of introductions for both the speakers and the participants. So, dear participants, if you could write in the chat where you're from and how you have heard about us, that would be great. And with that being said, I am Nicoleta, and together with Manisha, my colleague, as student affairs managers, we support our students in their journey from the moment they start an application until they graduate. So we are student focused and we do our best to make sure that you have a successful and an enriching experience at the German UDS. Today, it is an honor to have Professor Dr. Felix Weitkämper with us as our main speaker, who is the program coordinator for the Master's degree in Applied AI, as well as the head of a research group, Statistical and Symbolic Artificial Intelligence. Now, I'd like to hand it over to my colleagues so they can share a few words and introduce themselves.
Thank you very much. I mean, you already took half my introduction away from me. Yeah, so I'm Felix Weitkämper. I joined some time ago in this venture, and I am now both a professor, but I'm also, more importantly today, the program coordinator of the Applied Artificial Intelligence unit and course. So I will say more about what I'm doing in my research and so on at the appropriate point in my talk where it might make a little bit more sense. But for now, just a very warm welcome from me and to all of you, wherever you might be, as they say.
Thank you, Felix. Manisha?
Awesome. Yes. So as Nicoleta also already introduced me, I'm Manisha. Hi, everyone. And I work with Nicoleta in the student affairs team here at German UDS. And my role within the team mostly focuses on student support and services. So that means offering personalized advice and support to our students whenever they need any of it during their entire learning process. I'm there. I'm also responsible for connecting you to the right contact persons during your learning journey and also making sure that you feel connected and confident throughout the process. So I'm really excited to be here at this webinar today. And so look forward to all the exchanges that we will have with you. And a very warm welcome to everyone wherever you are located right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Manisha. So, to give an overview of our agenda, we will be covering the following topics as listed here and end with a Q&A session. So feel free to send your questions in the chat and we will make sure to address all of them. And with that being said, let's dive in. So, what makes German UDS truly different? Well, I'm thrilled to share that we are Germany's first fully digital university. We're a global community of thought leaders and academic innovators, changing the face of digital education and strengthening connections with businesses across sectors. We offer a unique opportunity to receive a German education and university degree at a distance with access for students from all over the world. Before giving you a sneak peek into our metaverse-style campus that will revolutionize education, I will first pass the virtual Microsoft microphone to Professor Dr. Felix Weitkämper, who will share all the key details about our master's programs in Applied AI. So I would like to stop sharing right now so you can share your presentation.
I will do so anon. The usual feedback, is it visible?
All visible.
Yes.
Yeah,
excellent.
all good.
So I'm very happy to have you here today. And I'm going to say a little bit more about my view in why I believe, first of all, one should study applied AI, which I believe is not self-evident. And if so, why this is a format in which that could succeed. I thought about this for quite a while, and I thought it would be a bit more interesting than just going through some information which you can easily find on the website as well. So please bear with me while I go and zoom out a little bit. So artificial intelligence has had quite a rocky road. It started out, arguably before the 1950s and 60s, but really from the 1960s, back then in parallel with science fiction and the dream that artificially intelligent machines could serve as personal robots, they could serve for planning economies, running spaceships, and doing all these things. The vision was fully developed already by the 1960s, and it made people very excited. And in that time, sort of from the 60s to 80s, there was a huge boom in artificial intelligence, in what we now call symbolic AI. You will hear me talk about this a bit because I happen to teach it and because it's one of my own research fields. But then, by the end of the 80s, it just didn't manage to reach up to its expectations. The main reason was that AI techniques only really seemed to work for the people making them. And the rest of the world were just not able to reap the benefits that they were promised year after year after year. And that led to what is known as the AI winter from throughout the 1990s and 2000s, where people were told that AI is a pipe dream, they should rather go and do actual programming. And this refocus on programming languages, also we have a lot to be thankful for. It gave us Python, Java, and a lot of the languages we use today. But all of this changed at the very latest in late 2022, when publicly available large language models like ChatGPT came and flooded the internet and completely shocked people, even those working in the field. If you're familiar with sites like Stack Overflow or Stack Exchange, which are where computer scientists hang out, and you look at the 2022 Meta Stack Exchange chat logs, people were absolutely floored by ChatGPT. Of course, it started somewhat earlier. And I was thinking a lot about why this is different. And I think the key difference is usability. Even professionals with no background in artificial intelligence can integrate solutions like ChatGPT into their workflows. Even before that, they can use libraries like scikit-learn, which is a standard Python library for machine learning, to detect patterns in their datasets. Now, I say professionals without a background in AI because I also work a lot with biologists whose entire stats knowledge often comes from a single undergraduate course late in their bachelor's degree, and who are able to use Python and R scripts to do their work with no real knowledge of what goes on under the hood. And this means that for the first time, people see this is what AI can do for me. However, there are some downsides to this. First of all, it means that a few packages, and I'm looking at scikit-learn very particularly here because I have some very personal beefs with it, dominate. And they dominate not because they're the best, but because they're easiest to integrate. They have this usability snag of you can take it and you can just plug in whatever you need. Now, this is great. Nothing wrong with usability. The problem is a feedback loop. What happens is that everyone uses the popular tools because they're easy to use, but that means that education and training providers, and think everything from YouTube tutorials to overpaid professional development sessions, focus on those tools that are popular. Now these tools are even more popular, meaning they crowd even larger share of the market, and even more of the education is focused on that. This means that suddenly, unusual or demanding use cases that always used to be what AI was particularly good for, the standard use cases could often be done by normal algorithmic programming. AI was for the weird edge cases, and suddenly these are completely neglected. So the tailored complex solutions are lost. There is another side to this, which is if you do use the popular tool, even where it might not fit perfectly, that can be quite deceptive. The mere fact that 85,000 other people use this is enough to say, well, I think that should be fine because everyone is using it. And that creates the illusion that the results are more reliable than they are. They're reliable not because the theory gives me guarantees on why they should work, but because everyone is using them. And this is from everywhere, from academia, where peer reviewers are happy to sign off things because, well, that's what everyone does, so we can't fault the authors for that, down to small businesses who run using the same chatbot technology, even where it's not adequate for their purposes at all. And the result is that AI models justify conclusions and decisions that the underlying methods just don't support. They were not designed for it. They were often made by academia with very specific ideas and then trickle down to everyone doing them as default because that's what a popular software package maintainer in 2010 thought was a good idea. And I believe that this creates the niche for the highly educated AI specialist. Because an AI specialist can go beyond off-the-shelf tools. They can design and implement solutions that are suited to the task, starting from the task, not from the solution they happen to know. They also have an idea of, this is where the standard tool is totally sufficient. I can do this in 2 hours, glue something together, off we go, right, do something else. Where do I really need a custom approach? Most importantly, they can explain and justify those decisions when challenged. Whether that's in the C-suite executives who ask, why are we basing our decisions, our business decisions on this AI model, then it's not going to cut it to say that's what everyone is doing. You need to understand what you're doing so that you can explain and justify this. Not if you're at the lower rung of AI implementers and users and people who write basic glue scripts, but that's not what the highly educated, master-educated AI specialist should be for. So now this leads us to the fact, why a university? There are so many promises of educating AI professionals. It's not obvious why a research university should be the best approach. However, in AI has a specific feature, which is that the path from research I do on my desk to applications I do with my partners is very short. I can publish a paper on methodology in 2024, and in 2025, I'm using it now in a conservation project in Italy. This is an extremely short cycle. If you compare this to the journey from theoretical physics to making semiconductors, we're talking generations. Here we're talking months and years. That means that academic rigor is a real bonus. It means we need a program that is application focused. It's called Applied AI for a reason, but it is fully grounded in academic rigor because it can get you the 2024 research that you can use in 2025 because we researchers are who are making the 2024 research. We're evaluating it, we're reviewing it, and so on. And that's particularly strong in the German Humboldtian Research University framework. Because German universities, research universities, are particularly grounded in this idea of the unity of research and teaching. That means that I do research in the areas I teach in, and I only teach those fields I actually know about. Not massive rotations where everyone has to deliver that beginner's course at some point, regardless of what they actually do. And also not teaching assistants who basically run the big compulsory modules all by themselves. And that's not just true, and this I think is quite peculiar to the German UDS for the technical models, but even the fundamentals and business skills. Things like critical and conceptual thinking and design thinking are not taught by anyone who's once taken a humanities course, but by researchers with a professorship in design thinking, who've been doing this particular thing for a decade. And that, I think, is quite unique and something I, as a program coordinator, am particularly proud of. Now that leads me to my apologies for the slightly bad resolution. I didn't find an SVG version of this. Overall course layout. So let's get down to a little bit more details. So I expect you've already looked at this online if you went to the all the way to signing up for the webinar, but I'll just quickly go through it. So in the first 3 quarters, you have a block of modules that you take as a group, in particular, what I call the core AI triad. That's logic and symbolic AI, machine learning and analytics, and the deep learning course. You will have basically as a cohort. And then you have around it the root camps and coding camps, and the course that you do together with those from other fields. So that means you have a direct relation to your application fields and your colleagues from business and so on. Then there is project work. Most importantly, of course, your master's thesis and your master's challenge, which will be more independent, could be applied, research focused, however you like, but more independent. And the group challenge, which helps you work together with others. And then we have the electives. I'm going to talk in a little bit more detail about those, but not too much because they're quite far away from you right now where you are. So I'll start with this core triad, because it is the defining feature of your course. You are the only ones having it as a mandatory course, and because I'm teaching a lot of it. And the centerpiece of that starts with introducing symbolic AI, then statistical AI, and then you have neural deep learning methods. I know that deep learning methods are what is currently the most en vogue. However, I believe that this means that symbolic and statistical approaches are becoming more important because they're a greater niche differentiator. If everyone can do the things that deep learning is good at, there needs to be people who do the things that it's not as good at. Of course, I would say that because I'm a professor for symbolic and statistical AI, so I need to defend my field and my colleagues. But I will hope that if you come to us, I can, in those 2 quarters, convince you that there is some merit in what we're doing. And each of these explores the principles, the strengths, but also the limitations. Because I know there'll be a colleague teaching you deep learning later, so I'm happy to refer to that, what we in symbolic and statistical AI are not as good at. And we build both the theoretical frameworks, but also the specific practical skills. And I'll go into how I personally do that a bit later. Around that, you have these root and coding camps. So the root camps train creativity and critical thinking, and you have an interdisciplinary group. You're there with all the master students together, so not just stuck in your technician's bubble. The coding camps, although they're more technical, also help to bring everyone to a common denominator. I know a lot of you will have had coding experience, some of you will not have had coding experience, and those who do will have it in a variety of languages and a variety of different approaches. So it is good that we have something that brings us together that the rest of us can rely on when teaching you courses later. You then take some additional models in applied AI and big data, and those are particularly interesting because they're really your modules, they're in AI, but you take them together with people doing related fields. So you already get a feeling of how people who are not AI specialists engage with AI topics, which is really important with a view towards employment opportunities later on. And yeah, that maximizes contact with applications, and at the same time, I'm trying my best to give you a broad, coherent foundation through the middle. That's how it's designed. You then have a group project, so there you can tackle some complex problem. It's quite a large thing, actually, because it's a whole quarter and more than one person. You can really do a lot there. At my previous university, I did group projects that landed in scientific research papers that are widely understood and widely used, well, in my little community anyway. But you can also work on a much more applied topic. So you have a wide variety of options. The point is, though, that this gives you quite an impressive piece of work because you spend 3 months and several people doing it, which is also great for applications to jobs and internships later, because you presumably have a somewhat impressive GitHub repo that you can show and that you can put on your CVs. That's why it's not necessarily a bad idea to do this in a more method-heavy field, because that's just a little bit more impressive when you apply. Then you have a wide range of electives. So we have electives that are quite particular to applied AI, which are more for deepening. I, for instance, will teach an elective in causality and probabilistic graphical models, which is taken almost directly from my research and which I try to evangelize throughout the natural sciences. But then also we have applications in industrial AI, so working with more directly in industry applications. But you can also take up to half, so 3, of your electives from the other modules that we have. So you can directly have a sort of specialization in an application domain as well, giving you this extra breadth. So hopefully, overall, you can have both the breadth of application domains, the depth of going into electives that are can be deep because we can rely on you having 3 whole quarters of AI core, and you have an individual profile because you will have a very different set of electives than most of the others. Of course, the ultimate profile comes from your master thesis. We solved the issue that 1 quarter is very short for a master thesis by having a project preceding it, so you can start doing practical work, and then you can the pinnacle of that can then be your master thesis. Again, we can support the whole continuum, theoretical advances with an eye to applications. If some of you want to go really theory heavy, I'm always up to the challenge. But the idea is that it has an eye to applications, to also real practical use cases. Now, I'll spend the last couple of minutes talking about the individual modules. You may or may not have had a chance to look at some of our open courses. If not, they are available to you and they give a flair of what the sort of videos look like. Important is that the modules differ. Part of the concept of the German Research University is that the researcher knows what he's doing. I know how to teach the things that because I've taught it to PhD students, I've taught it to master students, I've taught it to bachelor students, and I teach it in a way that I believe is the best way to do it. So the courses differ both in their didactics and also in their structure. I'm going to tell you how I teach my modules so that you have an idea of what you could expect. So my courses combine 6 full content weeks with 2 weeks of independent project work. And over the content weeks, you build up through extended homework tasks, you build up skills, and then you can use those skills in your final project. And the feedback we give for the homework directly informs the later project work, so everything should be interconnected. The week combines pre-recorded lecture videos. They're all around only 10 minutes each to maximize the amount of intake, because some of this is quite heavy, some of this content. So I don't want to have this classic 45-minute talking at you, or after 8 minutes, everyone has starting to flag in concentration. And then there's a homework sheet in the week. Sheet in a metaphorical sense. It's a homework task on your learning management system, and you submit that in the following week, and then you get feedback for it. I'm going to talk about it later, but you'll also meet for weekly live sessions. So I meet my students every week, and we discuss the content in person. You can ask questions. I can say some things that I think are particularly relevant to you personally, and so on. We also have a course forum where you can communicate with your fellow students and with me in between those sessions. One of the advantages that we have that I found amazing when I came first is that we have an in-house recording studio where we professionally record and edit our videos. So we have, and I personally use quite a diverse range of techniques. So I use slide talks, like I do here, but I also use virtual chalk and talk because I'm of a firm belief that difficult theoretical concepts are best seen by watching a professor suffer, and seeing him deriving it on the board is just a completely different experience than me flicking through slides pretending I know all the answers. Seeing me sweat and mess up on the board just has a different quality to it, and I emulate that using my Supernote electronic paper device. A lot of the practical stuff is just coding. And you don't learn coding from seeing slides with code on it. Again, you learn it from seeing someone out in the field with editor and command line working down and screening that. And I combine all of these, thereby giving the editors a lot of headache, but our editors are all lovely and have never complained and always make beautiful final videos out of it. Then you have this homework. So for every homework you submit, you get personal feedback. And I hope that this is enough motivation for you to do the homework, and so far it has been for my students, so that has worked quite well, and that builds up your skills for this final project. That then assesses the skills and the understanding at the end. So this is the overall outline. I think before I talk, it's better to see if you have some questions about any of that. So for now, I think I'll hand back to our hosts.
Thank you so much, Professor Weitkämper. I have to say that it's been so insightful listening to this presentation. Although I have nothing to do with applied AI, now I want to be in one of your courses because your enthusiasm sparked my curiosity, and I will definitely want at least to check some of the micro degree programs that we have in this area because it's so interesting. And thank you so much for providing all of these details. Now I'll take it over. Oops, and share. Can you stop sharing so I can start? Yeah,
Indeed.
excellent. Thank you so much. Let me quickly share here, and I assume now my screen is visible again, right? Wonderful. So we have received some questions and we will address them in the Q&A at the end. Right now, I would like to share that we are currently building our campus of virtual education. So we aim to create a virtual space with the possibility of communicating with professors and students through avatars, participating in classes in a 3D world, attending virtual lectures, labs, and practical exercises. So let's have a quick sneak peek.
Want people to spend their time in here when they're studying. So on this platform, one day you should be able to do everything. You should have your learning platform here, you should have your lectures here, you have your exams here, you do all the studying here, and it's also for exchanging and sharing study material. We also want to invite other universities and companies on Cove, give them a space, easily reachable, because I think this is what collaboration needs.
Exciting, isn't it? This is work in progress and we will share more updates accordingly, but there should be also the possibility for our students to contribute to building Cove. So stay tuned for more information on our website. And I would also like to introduce you to Eva, our digital avatar, who'd like to share with you why German why German University of Digital Science is the right choice for your studies.
Hey, I'm Ava. I am a digital avatar. As a student at the German University of Digital Science, you stand at the forefront of educational innovation. Our virtual university model is designed to fit seamlessly into your life, no matter where you are or what your schedule looks like. Here's why choosing our virtual university can be a game changer for you. You have the freedom to access your courses anytime and from anywhere. This means you can tailor your studies around your personal and professional commitments, managing your time in a way that works best for you without sacrificing your education. Studying with us is more affordable compared to traditional private universities. You save on commuting, housing, and many other campus-related expenses, making higher education more accessible financially. Engage with advanced learning technologies that enhance your educational experience. Whether through virtual reality that brings complex concepts to life or AI-driven tools that personalize your learning journey, you benefit from an education that keeps pace with industry innovations. Connect with peers across the globe, collaborate on projects, and gain diverse perspectives that enrich your understanding and prepare you for a global workforce. This network can become a valuable professional resource for future opportunities. By participating in virtual learning, you contribute to reducing the carbon footprint associated with traditional campus settings. This commitment to environmental sustainability reflects a forward-thinking approach to global challenges. Our courses are designed with direct input from industry leaders to ensure relevance to current job markets. This alignment increases your employability, equipping you with skills that are highly valued in the workforce. Choosing the German University of Digital Science means embracing a modern education system that is smart, sustainable, and strategic. It's not just about earning a degree, it's about being prepared for the challenges and opportunities of the digital future.
Thanks, Eva. Now that you have a little bit of an overview about the program, the university, I'm happy to pass the word to Manisha, who will talk about our student services.
Awesome. Thank you, Nicoleta, and thank you, Felix, for the wonderful introduction to applied AI and also all the whole idea of our digital campus at German UDS. And as you said, I'm also really excited to sign up for Felix's micro degree program
So
because
two more
the
students.
way he explained AI, it's like it doesn't make it sound all so crazy and difficult of a subject anymore. Like even though it's very heavily mathematical, I've seen his slides, but if you explain it the way you do, then I'm happy to actually sign up for that. And that also kind of addresses some of the questions that we are getting in the Q&A about having a bachelor's degree in STEM. So we will be addressing more about that in the Q&A section, but be rest assured that all our programs are designed for diverse academic fields, and you do not necessarily have to be from a STEM background um, to like enroll in any of our courses. Well, now that we have spoken about the course structure and how the learning process will look like for you, I will give you a short introduction into the various student services that we have planned for you and that we are offering at German UDS. So we understand that academic success doesn't necessarily mean that you only attend your lectures and get really good grades, right? It's so much more than that. It's and even more so important when all our students are located around the globe. You don't get to see each other personally, so it's very important that we build a strong community here to support you both professionally and personally. That you get to interact with your peers and also feel connected and supported throughout your learning process and don't have to deal with things just by yourself. So, like just giving you a brief idea about the different services that we offer, the most important thing is the career services that we offer, because we understand that a lot of you would like to have a successful career while studying and also afterwards. So we will be organizing a lot of webinars and career workshops with a lot of experts and speakers from the industry and academia. As you heard Felix, we also have so many of our other professors who are experts within their own fields and are happy to guide you to make the right decisions for your career. What does it look like after you complete that particular master's degree? What are the different avenues for you to apply and find jobs in, or maybe pursue research as well? As Felix already mentioned, I'm sure with his course, you would have a very strong research profile once you're done with your master's degree. So you could pursue PhDs and pursue a career in academia as well. Besides that, we also host a lot of virtual networking events, build peer circles. We have our WhatsApp community, also a community on Yellow Dig where you get to interact with your professors and your peers outside of your learning schedule. So it allows for a more informal exchange within your peer community and also get to know about each other's cultures and interests and likes and dislikes. So you really get to bond with your professors and your peers in this process. We also offer confidential counseling when it comes to your academics or personal struggles. We understand that sometimes it can be really challenging to manage both work and life, and academics. It's all too much, and if at any point you feel like things are not working out well for you, or you would like some support in any of the areas, then we are here to support you. Like from our professors, from within the student affairs team, also the IT team. So we have all these people in place that are happy to help you with any of the problems that you might have with your academics, or if you would need counseling, we can redirect you to like a certified individual who can help you with that. Besides that, you will also receive academic writing support. So how do you do robust scientific research? How do you manage your resources? How do you write your theses? So all of that I know we don't really get a lot of training on that in our bachelor's program. So we offer that as a part of our services to you so that you know how to write great scientific papers. Also, you will have access to a lot of digital learning tools that we offer, academic resources and materials. And yeah, like any kind of personalized support at any point, you always have someone to reach out to. And then we move on to one of the most exciting things that we have planned and are going to offer soon to all our students. So these are career weeks, and this is a really wonderful opportunity for you to come to Germany and get some hands-on experience working with German companies, getting professional work experience and also building the professional network while you're here. So the career weeks are planned to be offered 2 to 3 times a year. And they are designed in such a way that all our students who are located globally around the world could come to Germany and participate. That's the reason why we are offering it in different slots throughout the year. So we understand that there might be concerns regarding the visa and the process takes long. So you would be able to attend any of these 3 different offerings throughout the year. So when you are in Germany for the career weeks, it will involve a lot of exciting things. So the first one will be career readiness workshops. You will get to have a lot of sessions with the speakers and experts from both industry and academia, from our professors. Also have internship opportunities with German companies in several fields like tech industries, research, consulting, etc. A lot of it is also dependent on your background. So we are happy to connect you with companies that would be more fitting for your current profile. Then you will also have cultural tours and social events, and that will also help you connect with your peers, and you will get to experience the real local culture in Germany while you're here. Also, at the end of this 4-week program, you will receive a certificate of participation, and you will receive ECTS credits for all the hours you spent in the internship and the various workshops. This, I believe, would be a very concrete value addition to your CV. Also, if you're looking to break into a new industry or expand your professional network or your international exposure, I think career weeks are a great opportunity for you to take advantage of. And then we move on to some of the testimonials from our students. And as you can see, a lot of them are quite excited to be a part of the global German UDS community. They really like the expertise of our professors, the professional delivery of our courses, and the high quality teaching materials, the personalized support that they receive. So yeah, I think we are really proud of the community that we have built so far, and we would really like to expand it and offer it to all of you if you choose to be a part of this. So yeah. Also, I would like to point out that we are also very open to your feedback. That is the case with our current students as well. They always reach out to us with feedback and their own ideas, and we are also happy to take them and implement and just make the learning process more tuned to their needs and requirements. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Manisha. Dear participants, if you're wondering now, I'm very interested. I want to apply. How can I do this? Well, I'm happy to share that we have a very easy and smooth application process for all of our programs. So you can see all of our study programs listed here, and we have the same application procedure for all of them. If you were to scan this QR code, it would take you to our application portal. There is also a tutorial. I think it's 1.5 minutes showcasing you how to apply. It's quite easy. You register there, you fill in the personal information, and submit the required documents. We try our best actually to give an answer within 1 week right now. So it's your chance to apply as soon as possible, and I will explain why. We do have two intakes in April and October, but if you apply by the end of if you apply and get admitted by the end of July, you still qualify for the early action discount, and that is worth 500 euros. So, if you're interested, submit it as soon as possible, we'll evaluate it as soon as possible, and provide an admission decision as soon as possible. And I want to emphasize that our fees include full access to learning materials, the platforms, the academic support, and the possibility to extend your studies free of charge. And as mentioned throughout this presentation, we're very student focused. We're here to support you at any stage from the beginning until you graduate, and even later as alumni. With that being said, I assume you probably have already quite a few questions that we'd like to address, and this takes us to our Q&A session. I have seen that there are already some questions in the chat, so for the time being, I'll stop sharing my slides and we can address one by one and welcome more questions. There was one question that was already answered, and I'm not sure if everybody has seen all of the questions and the answers, so we'll go one by one to address all of them. The first one was about the fact that the attendee might be one or the very few students who lives in Potsdam, and the question was about physical presence / library where they could visit or study. Manisha, would you want to answer that question?
Yes, I already wrote in the chat. So right now we do not have any physical campus per se or study spaces that we could offer to you. But like if there is a group of students in Potsdam who would like a space to like work together or study together, then we can facilitate something like that, maybe at the Cloud House, or we could offer you some places in Potsdam for co-working sessions and things like that. So please do reach out to us, and then we can see if we can arrange something for you.
And
Thank
there
you so
wouldn't be
much,
the
Manisha.
only one. I know at least one other person who lives in Potsdam. So
Yes,
there would be at least two.
yeah, we actually have a couple of students from
Around.
Potsdam, even in the current batch. Yeah.
Yes. That's also quite exciting because it kind of builds up some local presence.
Yeah, indeed.
Yes. I also wanted to mention that we also provide, if we talk about academic resources, online access to different online libraries. So that is also going to be provided. The second question comes as part of in like threefold, three questions. Manisha also got to answer all of them in writing, but I will just go one more time. The first question is about admission requirements. If students who do not have a STEM background could join our programs, and as Manisha mentioned already earlier, yes, we accept students with all backgrounds. Of course, if you have already experience in a STEM field, it's easier, but if you don't, that would not be a reason for you not to apply and start with us. We tailor our courses in a way that would help beginners as well. We have prep courses and different support available for our students.
Can I maybe say a couple of words about
Yes,
that
Yeah.
please.
as well, given that I think my courses are the ones who are the main sort of gatekeeping issue there, which are the first two quarter AI courses. So first of all, they can definitely be successfully taken by people who do not have a strong background in STEM or related fields. However, it requires motivation and some perseverance. So I would like to say that it is clear that you do need to do some individual study. I have also met one-to-one with students who had issues with that, and I helped them through it, and I gave them resources, and this all works, and but it requires you to give something above and beyond what you would have if you've just done a standard computer science bachelor's degree. So in the current batch, we have everything. We have mathematicians and computer scientists, we have medics, we have people from humanities, we have an entire range, and so far they have been successful. So it works, but you can't, but it's not a walkthrough. It is, I mean, it's generally not, I don't know how accustomed you are to the German system in general, but German university courses tend to be challenging. So it is challenging in principle, And if you have less experience with it, it probably makes sense if you choose to come to reach out to me at some point, and I'll make you something like a personalized revision and prep schedule or something like that. I think that should definitely be possible. But maybe plan a couple of weeks before each of the first 2 quarters of more intense reading. So that would be
Thank you
my
so much.
personal take.
Excellent. I think this
Thank
gives
you.
a good insight into how things work in regards to admission requirements and how it feels to be in the course. The second question was about if the course is held at fixed times, or is there flexibility in terms of one's own learning pace? Absolutely. As answered here, the courses are self-paced. Of course, they involve some live meetings with professors and with other colleagues from around the world, your peers. And usually, my understanding is that each professor decides with their group of students at what time and when they meet. They try to facilitate different time zones. So, yeah, you can study asynchronous and synchronous with these elements as well, but we do take into account that some of our students, work and they have family responsibilities, so we try to accommodate that as well.
The majority, I would say. So it is not, you are not alone.
Yeah.
This is one, I think this is one of the lessons also. This does work. I mean, you can, but again, it requires perseverance. But I would also, in that context, I would like to point out that we offer quite a lot of flexibility with stretching the program.
Yep.
If the full 3 course, you saw on my list, it's a 3 course per quarter load. And if that just doesn't work out, because 3 courses is a real 30-hour work, and it's not 30 hours absolute maximum, it is an expected 30-hour workload. And if that just doesn't work, please, please, please make use of the opportunity to stretch it a little bit. Don't torture yourself. It is not worth it. You can make use of that. I think that's a flexibility that's really great and that a lot of other
Yep.
courses just don't offer, as far as I see from my experience.
Indeed, I think it's a really useful opportunity for our students to. I think it's also a common practice in a lot of German universities where you can actually take less credits for each quarter or each semester, and you can take like more than, in our case, you can take 3 years to complete your master's degree without any additional cost. So definitely make use of that when life gets challenging.
Absolutely. And the third part of the question was about paying the tuition fees. So right now, at the moment, the way it works with the payment, you would have to pay the first year tuition fees before the start of the first year, and the second year tuition fees before the start of the second year. That's how it works, and we all welcome feedback, as Manisha mentioned. So if flexible financing options such as monthly payments keep coming back, we will revise it and see what we can change to make it more flexible and easier for you. With that being,
Also, just to quickly add on to that, so it really depends on your geographical location as well. But sometimes when you're paying through Flywire, which is our payment wall, you could also have the option to select maybe like installments for the payment. Although, I mean, we cannot guarantee that everyone is going to have that opportunity. So, like Nicoleta said, if you would like something like that, if you would like to have this flexibility, do write to us in admissions and then we will take this forward and try to help you as much as we can.
Thank you. And we have more questions. So the next one is, Professor Dr. Weitkämper, could you please give some examples of master thesis topics that students in the Applied AI program might pursue?
I assume I should take that one.
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I am very happy to give some examples. So, first of all, I want to point out that I have many colleagues with many interesting research topics, but I would be lying if I would be making up research topics that they are willing to supervise. What I know is that some of our colleagues also have closer relationships with industry and that are able to supervise master thesis topics that are in collaboration with industrial partners. Now, I'm going to answer the rest of the question in regards to the thesis topics that I would supervise, because that gives you an idea of at least what I can guarantee will be possible, unless other people take them away from you. And that's So my own applications field is in the life sciences. So I work on neurosymbolic, symbolic, and statistical approaches for applications in the life sciences. And two of my current sort of large-ish projects that I am very happy to hand out master theses in revolve one around epidemiological modeling. So that is the modeling of infectious diseases. And infectious disease modeling is very difficult to do in a classical program-based framework. At the same time, it's very opaque. And we saw that in COVID that, well, one might have seen it if one followed the news, that different research groups had widely different modeling outcomes. No one knew what they were assuming, and it was a huge mess. And I'm working on a system which has a statistical relational AI, this is my actual field, that combines symbolic and statistical into one. And you will understand those words when you take the course, but the overall idea is that you have a language where you can express things we know about, say, an infectious disease, and these might be, and we can prove that this is actually what's happening probabilistically in the model, in the background, so that if someone argues and says, I don't like the outcome, then you can say, well, point at which of my assumptions you disagree with. And this whole system has everything from technical writing shells and Python glue and everything to logic programming. That's something we're going to learn in the first quarter. But it also has theoretical approaches, algorithmic components. We need better simulation algorithms for these. If we want this to be used more widely, it needs to scale to big data. All of these are great challenges, and each of these will be a wonderful master thesis. On the other side, I also work in conservation, maybe a bit easier to explain. My current project that I'm trying to hand in by August 4th and working on right now, before and after this meeting, is a project where we're investigating shrubs, very highly endangered shrubs, who live on alpine rivers. And they don't live there anymore in the numbers we want them to. They die out, which is a bad thing. We do something about that. So we want to study what are the factors that contributes to that. And classical statistical modeling doesn't work satisfactorily for a host of reasons. And that's why I'm using more advanced techniques of causal modeling and causal diagrams that allow us to make clear what our assumptions are and then to divide up the labor. Biologists look at what the plant does, but then hydrologists and geomorphologists have a look at what determines the river morphology, which has huge impacts on the plant. And all of this is glued together in this AI framework. And that's also something I'm working on. And there are hosts of applications there. Forestry has enormous amounts of forestry data they just simply cannot use because they don't have the tools. And any students who would like to work on this sort of thing are very, very welcome. And I'm always very happy to take master thesis topics. So this is sort of my contribution to applications. I realize that for some people, application necessarily means commercial applications. But I've always worked in applications in non-profit and in sort of science, basically from computer science to applied sciences and natural sciences. So I hope that is a sort of satisfactory answer.
Thank you so much for this example.
Concrete projects that you can work on, but that's just what I have. And then there are lots of other people who also have projects.
There are also more questions for you. So could you give some examples of jobs that graduates of the Applied AI program would be qualified to apply for upon completing the program?
Absolutely. So, I mean, one of the focus points, there are a couple of points. One of the focus points, of course, is research and development. That I think is what, if a master applicant should, if their master program is worth its salt, be qualified to work in research and development. That can include academic research and development, in which case usually postgraduate study in a PhD program will be the next step. And you would be, hopefully, if you write a good master thesis, which is really crucial for PhD applications, quite competitive for that. I think it wouldn't be, in fact, I would say it would not be too much of a problem to get a PhD position of a master degree here if you have a strong master thesis. The other thing, though, is that industrial research and development, at least in Germany, less and less requires PhDs and more requires independent project work. This is especially a German thing, I think, because a lot of research and development positions in Germany are not big tech, because that's mainly in the US and the UK. That's just how life is. A lot of them are places like I have colleagues at Siemens who make big industrial machinery and power stations. So yes, they have research and development, but in the end will be used in the back end of their own company. So they need people who have an understanding of applications, even in their development departments, more than they need PhD graduates. Then you have jobs, and I do think that's a viable avenue. Again, I come from a British educational background myself, so this is something that is a popular destination for highly qualified applicants is consulting in all its, and tech consulting in all its forms. And for technology consulting, I think the sort of skills that I mentioned in my presentation are exactly what gets you places in tech consulting, because they tend for their slightly higher. Unfortunately, in tech consulting, they always make you run the donkey run first and do a year of making PowerPoints where they let you do anything at all, but that's just how these places work. But ultimately, what ends up in the highly paid consulting firms are the jobs that the in-house junior data scientists couldn't do. And then lastly, there's jobs like senior data science. But senior data scientists are often junior data scientists on a promotion rather than more highly qualified applicants. So I think that probably R&D and consulting are probably two that are specific to master. Of course, everything you could do after a bachelor degree, you can also do after a master degree, which could be interesting for people from humanities and so on who don't have a bachelor degree in computer science, and therefore a lot of the jobs that are open to bachelor degrees in computer science, you can of course also do with a master in applied AI, the standard data science jobs. I don't want to denigrate, by the way. There are excellent data scientists. I just always think that if I have master students who then decide to apply for positions as a junior data scientists, they could really have done that after their bachelor's degree, and they don't really need a master degree to do that. But that's just my personal opinion. Okay, I hope that's fine.
Thank
Feel
you.
free to ask follow-ups if I don't answer your questions appropriately, by the way.
Thank you so much. Manisha, did you also want to add something?
No,
Okay.
no, I just wanted to thank him for the really beautiful answer.
I think the next one is
We
also mine, so I think I can just continue.
yes, indeed.
Yes.
The answer is, of course, yes. We are absolutely looking into concrete possibilities of combining these approaches. Without going too much into a meta research academic rant, I am also of the opinion that it is quite valuable to continue investing in the separate components. I believe that my very personal belief is that neurosymbolic AI will come via agentic AI, and that neurosymbolic AI will be possible because, in my humble opinion, large language models sort of can, in the best case, replace humans. But then, have you ever seen a human look through 15,000 data points and find a statistically significant pattern? Not really. So the idea that large language models and deep learning replace statistical AI is less, I think, is overblown, because really what they replace is humans. That can also be scary. Of course, that's scary. But when I work in symbolic modeling and in expert systems and so on, the expert systems support humans. That's what they're there for. They don't replace your doctor. They support your doctor by giving medical information in a streamlined fashion. And they can support large language models in exactly the same way they support humans. So I believe the future of neurosymbolic AI is an agentic workflow where we don't try to inject logic into the deep learning system. If you ever come and I can debate you on that topic. I think that's a writing to nowhere. But where the deep learning system uses symbolic and statistical approaches as tools in its box. And it opens one tool, here's a symbolic approach, and I use it. Here's a statistical approach, and I use it. Or I open Microsoft Word and write something and use it. Or if you're me, I open Emacs and use it. And that's what your AI system can do, just like your human can do. So this is my personal belief in neurosymbolic AI. And again, master thesis topics. Very quickly, anyone who's interested in this and has reached the phase of their master thesis, I'm very happy to take neurosymbolic topics and supervise them. I'm sure we can also arrange co-supervision with neural people if you don't trust me on my deep learning.
Thank you so much. And we have one more question. If we're looking into offering PhDs down the line, I could also go
think
ahead.
Do you want to give the general answer?
Yes, so we're definitely looking into that. That's the plan. We're in the process of doing that, but it takes a little bit more time. I do not want to give a deadline by when, but we spoke about this also yesterday not on Tuesday when we had our first webinar. We also spoke about the possibility of having it ready end of next year, but as said, not would not give any deadlines, anything like that. My recommendation would be just to check our website, and the most updated information will be there. You can also reach out to us, and I'll share quickly the email addresses, and we will be providing you all the information. But the short answer, yes, not deadline available. Will be more information available on the website soon. Manisha,
And
do you
maybe
want
if
to add
I
anything?
oh, sorry.
Oh, no,
no,
please.
you did a great job.
I
Thank
add
you.
a couple of words about
Yeah, please.
this as well. So there's two segments to this. One is the institution offering PhD programs, which of course is something that very rightly requires a lot of oversight. PhDs are extremely valuable. They are the currency on which our academic system lives and thrives. And it makes absolute sense to safeguard those PhDs, and we should earn our salt before we go out and hand out PhD degrees. The other thing is that would we supervisors be willing to eventually supervise PhDs? There's no point having a PhD position. At least the German system very much has a supervisor-centered approach. And there the answer from my point is definitely yes. And one can look into that in the future. And this should be arranged also, in my opinion. I don't know if you are someone looking for a master degree who would then see if there might be the possibility to stay on or is currently looking for a PhD position. My general life advice is approach supervisors, not institutions, if you want a PhD position. Ultimately, you have to convince one person, and that's your future supervisor, and hopefully they can sort out the rest. This is not a answer to a question, but generic life advice.
Very good tip. Excellent. I assume we answered all the questions by now. I didn't see anything pending anymore. And with that being said, dear speakers, dear participants, thank you for your time and contribution to this webinar. For any questions, feel free to reach out to us via the website, social media, or email. You have our email addresses here as well. You have a QR code. We look forward to hopefully welcoming you soon as a German UDS students, and we look forward to hearing from you soon. Thank you so much.